It is obviously for the Axe. It may mean much more. Minnesota, Wisconsin, always a good one in the Big Ten Western Division, although the Badgers have owned it over the past decade and a half. We got Daniel House on the line from Gophers Guru, does an exceptional job running that site. Please check it out. Even if you're not a Minnesota fan, if you're a Gophers fan, that goes without saying, you have to be there. If you are a college football fan, enjoy the breakdown, the metrics. Check it out because it is phenomenal stuff, and we get Daniel here on a regular basis. Daniel, how you doing today?
Doing well. Happy Thanksgiving, Mark. We're recording this on Thanksgiving, so I'm always thankful to come on your show. I enjoy it, and you do a great job.
Thank you so much. Yes, an early morning Thanksgiving segment here before all the festivities begin. So, Daniel, this Minnesota-Wisconsin, before we get to the matchups of the game, let's put it in perspective in terms of the context of championship implications. Wisconsin wins, they're in. From there, Minnesota wins. Lay it out for us.
If Minnesota beats Wisconsin, they need Nebraska to beat Iowa and Purdue to beat Indiana, and they'll win the Big Ten West despite a season that's been so up and down. There's been a lot of things going on, people getting injured. I'm just amazed at how this season in college football, it feels like there's been like even more inconsistency across the board, especially with the teams that are in the middle of the pack. And the Big Ten West is just wide open right now. Who knows? How crazy is it, Mark, that tomorrow a game is going to be played between Nebraska and Iowa? Nebraska's 3-8, and they're favored to win the game. I'm just amazed by that. That's how weird this season has kind of been in that sense.
And as you confirmed with me before we started to record,
yeah, apparently it's never happened. I seen a tweet from ESPN. They said dating back to 78 for sure, but they believe it hasn't ever happened. So that's pretty wild.
Which makes sense. It's this late in the season and teams are playing within the conference. Therefore, they're playing like competition. And for a 3-8 to be favored over 9-2 is something else.
It is. It is.
And the other thing is we could have a four-way tie for the Big Ten Western Division. Obviously, only one team is crowned champion and goes to Indianapolis, but we could have a four-way tie. I do want to break down real quick before we get to the matchups as you lay out the championship scenario. Of course, Nebraska, Iowa play on Friday. Minnesota will know that outcome. Mm-hmm. I'm losing track on Indiana, Purdue. Do we know when they're playing?
They're playing at 2:30, so they created that unknown with the TV slots. So 2:30 that game, and then 3 o'clock Minnesota, Wisconsin. So there'll be a little drama. You know, you never know. Purdue, Indiana could get wild, but Indiana's offense, they can't move an inch right now. It's really bad.
The Minnesota-Wisconsin series has leaned heavily in the Badgers' favor. 14 of 15.
Yeah,
it's off the top of my head here.
Yeah, 2018 was the big one to win in Wisconsin, and the Gophers brought the Axe back. It was such a big deal. They had people in the facility when the team got back off the bus. It was a wild deal just because the Axe hadn't been there in so long. So Minnesota, though, you know, this is going to be a really interesting game. I think they're intriguing matchups. Wisconsin started slow, but I mean, just consistent right now, playing with a ton of confidence, and Minnesota will have a lot of challenges.
Yeah, that was the Minnesota team, obviously, that battled back from 2-6. Rob Smith was fired as defensive coordinator, finished out at 7-6 with a bowl victory, and then come back the next year. And despite having a tremendous season at 11-2, had an opportunity against Wisconsin. It got hammered. Something in the range of 38-7 comes to mind.
Yeah, it was in that ballpark, I believe. But, you know, the big thing in that game was the scheme that Wisconsin had defensively. Minnesota had been so good with the RPO game all season long. And Jim Leonhard added that wrinkle where bringing an extra rusher delayed to disrupt the timing of those RPOs. And I think that's one of the things that I'm excited about in this game is Jim Leonhard's just an unbelievable defensive mind. I believe he could be in the NFL next year as a head coach. It would not surprise me at all if someone's interested. You know, you're going to get a lot of unique wrinkles. Like you see Wisconsin stem defensive linemen where they line them up in a gap and then they shift them right at the snap, certain things like that, or a different coverage, a different blitz look. Minnesota, if they want to win this game, they have to stay ahead of the sticks. That's been the recipe all year. You can't pound the football against Wisconsin. I mean, it's below 30% success rates on first down in Big Ten games for Wisconsin with their rush defense. They're at the top of every single category. You just look at how disciplined this group is. I mean, Leo Chenal is just a phenomenal player. I mean, NFL teams should be all over this guy because you look at his size, he's like 260 pounds, I believe, but you would not think that when you watch him, how he moves and how physical he is. Wisconsin every year just has these linebackers, and they feel like they've been there for like decades because they get him in there, they develop him up, and then they become contributors almost right away.
Minnesota, Wisconsin should be a great one on Saturday. We got Daniel House on the line from Gophers Guru to help us break it down. We'll stay on that side of the ball with the Wisconsin defense facing Minnesota. Tanner Morgan threw a couple touchdown passes against Indiana after throwing just 1 in 4 games. Your thoughts about the Minnesota pass attack against the Badgers?
Well, that game, I thought it was really interesting that Minnesota's quick game started to really emerge. And it's something that I've been saying for a while. I felt like they needed to really emphasize that within their scheme. The screens, they used a middle screen look with tight end Brevin Spann-Ford. They mixed in a tunnel screen to Daniel Jackson. They had like a flare route motion that displaced the defense a little bit. Being creative with the type of play calling that you have, especially in the quick game, getting the ball out very fast, having underneath options and hot routes for the quarterback to be able to get the ball out quick and, take what the defense is giving you. Early on in the season, Minnesota, they were really trying to push the ball downfield, longer developing routes. And when teams were in man coverage against them, it wasn't working because they'd send some pressure and then, people were unable to get separation. I think another factor of that has been personnel in and out at wide receiver, like Daniel Jackson missed a game, and then Chris Ottman-Bell was out at the start of the season, and he's been battling back from injury in and out. I don't think he's completely healthy at this point. So, they've had some personnel revolving in and out of there that I think has disrupted things, but they've adapted a bit more here involving Brevin Spann-Ford, who had an explosive reception against Indiana. He is like 6'7", massive target tight end that should be getting some more balls here. This is a game where the running backs in the passing game will be very important. The tight ends, stick routes, arrow to the running back, flare, screens. I think you empty out the playbook. Everything that you've got, you get the defense going one way, you run a screen the other. Minnesota has to literally leave every bullet, pull out every bullet they have for this game, and I think they will because the stakes are high. Minnesota fans want the axe, and you have to attack a Wisconsin defense that's so incredibly disciplined. They have a downhill attacking mentality. So if you're behind the sticks, I think this game on both sides of the ball will be won on first down. Whoever is more efficient on first down will win this football game.
And after being a complete brick wall for week after week after week, Adrian Martinez hit up Wisconsin for 351 through the air, and Nebraska put up 28 points. So maybe there's a little bit more on tape now for PJ Fleck and the coaching staff to look at to try to find some weaknesses there, although they're very scarce. As we flip it to the other side, Daniel, the effectiveness of the Minnesota ground game against everybody not named Illinois would make me believe that it's offensive line, period, that they're that good, that dominant, they could put me or you back there and we could gain yardage. Of course, that's a bit of a stretch there, but that has been generally the case. So what is the dynamic there in regards to the depth of the running back room versus what we see up front and the effectiveness of the ground game?
I'll say this much. Minnesota's done a phenomenal job of recruiting running backs. Illinois going down and getting Bucky Irving, who has turned into just a phenomenal player as a true freshman. I think people are really going to love this guy. He's got an electric personality. The guy is energetic the whole time. I was at a turkey drive the other night that the football program was hosting. They gave out Thanksgiving meals to 250 different families. It was just a really cool event. I'm watching Bucky Irving, how energetic this guy is. And I turned to a couple teammates. I said, is he like this all the time? And they're like, oh yeah, this guy, he's the life of the party. And so he's just been a really nice addition for the Gophers. Kai Thomas as well. But I think it speaks to Kenny Burns. He's one of the best running backs coaches in college football. I think a lot of teams across the country, if you're like a MAC program right now, you're definitely should have Kenny Burns on your list as a potential head coaching candidate. He will rise up the ranks very fast. But, like you said, the O-line group is phenomenal. I think John Michael Schmitz is a really underrated center. Everybody talks about the experience, but I don't think John Michael Schmitz gets enough love. Reaching defensive tackles, hitting the second level. That group plays really detailed, like especially at the outside zone game. They're able to create movement to the second level and open up creases. And I think, This is a game where you have to pass to open up the run because Wisconsin's been so phenomenal at stopping teams on first down. They try to run the ball. They get into that trap. They get you behind the sticks, and then they'll send pressure and mix coverages and do what they do best. So, again, it comes back to first down. If you're fishing on that down, you set yourself up for success.
I am jumping us back and forth between offense and defense. My apologies, not keeping us organized here, because I did want to hit on Graham Mertz against the Minnesota secondary. It seemed as though he's got great talent. I go back to the end of the first half game against Michigan, in which they eventually got beaten by 21 points. But Graham Mertz threw 2 rockets. The trajectory, the talent, arm talent displayed, 2 consecutive throws at the end of the first half against Michigan. And I thought, okay, that's the guy that everybody's been waiting to see. They, of course, lost that game. They lost to Notre Dame. They lost the other game to Penn State. And they seem to scale way back and say, you know what, we're going to bludgeon everyone. And Graham Mertz is going to throw like 7 or 8 passes a game until we get grounded here. And then it seems like in recent weeks, he's been more in that 20 to 22 pass attempt range, and they've opened it up a little bit more, and he's responded to that since the ground game has been so effective.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about Wisconsin, the recent success has been sparked by early down efficiency, because they're not in situations where Graham Mertz is behind the sticks. You want to be in 2nd and 3, 3rd and 2. Play action game works a lot better because your second level's got to defend and respect the run, and also, you're getting the second level moving off play action crossers and things like that. Wisconsin, I would expect, will use quite a bit of motion, maybe some tighter splits against Minnesota's defense to try to create some conflict with Minnesota's coverage schemes. We'll see how Minnesota plays Wisconsin defensively, because in the past they've said, okay, stack the box, stop the run, make the QB win the game. And I believe that's probably the best strategy, because you look at the data and you go, okay, you pair that up with what you see on film and you go, all right, stop the run, get Graham Mertz behind the sticks. I think he's been less effective when he's faced pressure, especially interior pressure up the middle, which forces him to not be able to step up and be as comfortable. You look at Wisconsin, they've only been in passing down situations. I mean, it's the 9th lowest rate in the nation right now. It tells you that they're doing a really good job of high percentage passing plays, blending it in. But for the most part, they are running the football effectively. The offensive line's generating movement to the second level. They're being very physical. So you have to get off of blocks. You've got to be able to set the edge strong and play really in sync, because if you allow Wisconsin to pick up 6, 7, 8 yards on first down, it's going to be a long day, because they'll hit you with the play action and put you in less favorable positions. So that, again, is the X factor for me. Minnesota's ability to stop the run on early downs and then mix coverages, send pressure packages. That's where Joe Rossi, a defensive coordinator, is at his best, is when he gets teams behind the sticks. Minnesota right now has the #1 passing downs opponent success rate in the nation. So that's the matchup to watch. If you can get Wisconsin behind the sticks, Minnesota's been super effective in that area.
Minnesota and Wisconsin fans, I'm going to ask you to do the unthinkable during this season of giving, and that's, listen to this, subscribe to our Iowa channel. So if you love what we do, I know this is unthinkable. I know I'm asking a lot, but if you love what we do here at the Voice of College Football and want the network to continue to grow, the Iowa channel is in a position to get to 1,000 subs. So please push us over the top. Once we get over the top, you know what? Unsubscribe. Just gotta push us past 1,000 subs. And Minnesota fans, Wisconsin fans, I know I'm asking just a deplorable thing there, but consider it, please. We got Daniel House on the line from Gophers Guru breaking down Minnesota, Wisconsin. This is a game I love watching regardless of the stakes, but they're 2 very good football teams and almost mirror images in some respects. Last question here, Daniel, deals with, as we pull you away from the X's and O's, an almost impossible one to answer, but it seems like most of the rivalries that I get to review and analyze throughout college football, the 2 that come to mind, Ohio State, Michigan, Oklahoma State, there's a clear psychological advantage based on one of them beating the other one upside the head. We got the same one here with Minnesota, Wisconsin. Is it a deal where if Wisconsin gets up by a couple scores, that doubt creeps in? I know I'm asking you to play psychologist here, but what do you think the psyche is where Minnesota stands?
Like if Wisconsin gets out ahead, how that impacts their ability to be
Yeah,
successful.
just overall where this Minnesota team stands psychologically, and
I would
their
say
approach
that's
to this
I
one.
would say that's the one thing that can happen is Wisconsin get off to an extremely fast start. Then, Minnesota's offense is climbing uphill. I think that's been the recipe. Like Illinois, you remember the first two drives of that game, the outside zone able to just generate movement. The Gophers weren't getting off of blocks and then didn't allow a score the rest of the game. So, the Gophers need to really start fast, especially defensively. Don't allow Wisconsin to set the pace of the game, because these two teams, like you said, are very similar. Wisconsin runs the ball 80+% of the time on first down. Minnesota's 75+% of the time. They both skew toward running the ball significantly. They are both physical up front, have really good, talented offensive lines. They play a similar brand of football. So when you have two teams that play a similar brand of football like that want to control the clock, dictate the physicality of the game, if you allow Wisconsin to score on the first drive, you're unable to do, anything offensively. The defense is unable to stop them. Again, you get down 14-0. You aren't going to have many possessions left because Wisconsin will play ball control the whole way. So Minnesota has to take advantage of being at home, starting fast. You win the coin toss, you take the ball, you go up, you try to score right away and put yourself in a position where you can control the game, because I think that, like you said, is a major factor.
Conventional thought is that home field equals 3 points according to Vegas, but obviously it depends on the home field. What type of a home field does Minnesota have? How big of an advantage do you think that
I'll
plays?
tell you this much: the student section, they've been unbelievable this year at Minnesota. The ticket sales have been up. People are really excited. That demographic is getting fired up about Gopher football. I think you're always going to have Wisconsin people who are right across the border. I mean, it's a quick drive that will come over for the game. So you do have a mix. But Minnesota fans, they always get fired up for the acts and the stakes and being at home, this year, and not having the ability to go to the game the previous year because of COVID in Wisconsin. So everyone is just excited about it, and the implications could be massive. That's the best part about this game. Nebraska and Iowa being on Friday, you'll have a really good idea. On Saturday, you're going to know whether Minnesota has a chance to win the Big Ten West, which would raise the bar another level. But boy, I don't know. That game with no Adrian Martinez and Iowa has to be just so motivated, knowing that they're 1-point underdogs, I believe now, in a game against a 3-8 team. I mean, that's just Kirk Ferentz bulletin board material.
Folks, if you remember, I told you Wisconsin was 1-3, but I said one loss is out of conference. The other two are out of division. They're going to hold tiebreakers and they're going to pull it together. And here we stand, Wisconsin, Minnesota, 3 Central Saturday, Fox. Should be a good one. Daniel House, Gophers Guru. Check out his work. Definitely there at gophersguru.com. Daniel, we appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving once again. We always appreciate the time and enjoy the game.
Appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving, Mark.